Welcome to Universe. This is Dave McFarland from Citizens Are Not Slaves. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about police and what I think is going wrong with our country right now. Police are doing things that citizens don't want them to do. But one of the problems that we're having is that police are shielded and insulating themselves from citizen sentiment. So we all know that we have a representative republic and that we elect our representatives. But one of the problems that we're experiencing right now is that police, when they do something wrong, they end up in kind of a bureaucratic backroom kind of situation where the unions fight for them to keep their jobs, and maybe somebody is actually trying to fire them, but usually doesn't have the ability to fight against the unions and the panels that actually make the ultimate decisions. So there's a couple of things that we can do to really gain control back over police. And I have a couple of proposals. I think these have been going around for a bit, but I've kind of compiled them and put them forward and then justify the reasons for having these changes. First thing is that police should not be able to investigate themselves. Police officer commits a crime or does something that might be criminal and is going to be investigated. He cannot be investigated by either himself or his organization. He needs to be investigated by at least a state level organization, if not a federal level organization. So that means that either the states, usually a department that investigates police, it's usually not called internal affairs, but some kind of a corruption department. Those state level departments are the ones that should be taking the lead on those investigations when a police officer does something. And occasionally, if it gets to the level where you don't think you could trust the state level department, or if the officer who committed a crime or possibly committed a crime was a member of the state level department, then we would need to push it up to a federal level department, maybe the FBI or a similar organization. That's because basically people who are close to a police officer have shown great tendency to cover for and sweep under the rug crimes that police officers have committed. We've seen a lot of shootings, police brutality that criminally get swept under the rug, even if civilly the people who are involved go to civil court and get a large judgment. On the criminal side, they just say, oh, we can't make a case. Usually the truth is that they could make a case. Basically, they've just kind of given up on the idea of a criminal investigation or a criminal prosecution. Citizens should have the final say over who becomes law enforcement personnel. And this should be through the form of some kind of a panel. And these panels should have the ability to revoke the law enforcement certification for a police officer that has violated the rights of a citizen. Once you violate the rights of a citizen, and that's the constitutional rights by either taking somebody's camera, brutality, or whatever reason it is, but if you're violating the constitutional rights of a citizen, you should have your ability to be a police officer revoked. That means that basically you're banned in that state from becoming a police officer. And then I'd like to also see state to state reciprocity for this kind of revocation. Basically, that means that if a police officer violates the rights of somebody in, say, Florida, and then they go out to Texas, they can't become a police officer again just by switching states. This is really necessary. We have a police force that does not care about the citizenry at the moment. We have a police force that cares more about what their bosses are telling them to do than what is actually right to do. And that's because what their bosses tell them to do is what their job is based off of. If we change the equation for police officers and make whether or not they're able to keep their job based on whether or not the citizens are pleased with their actions or if they have not violated the constitutional rights of citizens, then we will see a situation where police are much more likely to actually obey the Constitution and respect the limits of their authority and respect the rights of citizens. Another thing that these organizations need to do, we need to get the ability to file a complaint against a police officer. It needs to be an online form. Reporters have gone into police precincts and have attempted to file reports or just even get a form to file a report. A large majority of precincts where they've just requested a form to file a complaint, they've experienced intimidation and harassment from the police officers who are supposed to be taking those complaints. So basically, we need the ability to complain about police officers who violate constitutional rights, and we need the ability as citizens to say those police officers can no longer be police officers. Those things don't exist right now, and that's really one of the reasons that we're having such an epidemic of police, not necessarily always murdering people, not necessarily always brutalizing people, but police treating citizens in a way that they should not be able to treat citizens. Police are supposed to be the servants of the citizens and not our masters. And right now, the police seem to think in every situation they're the masters of the citizens. And that's wrong. All right, well, that's what I think. If you like this, go ahead and like the video and then please share it with your friends. I'd love to hear what you think about this. So go ahead and put some comments and feedback in the comments below and we'll get a conversation going.